What's an industry secret in the field you work in? Auto insurance agent. Please. For the love of God. Don't tell auto insurance agents more than you have to. They ask you a question. Just say yes or no and answer the question as straight as you can. If you go on and on about your life story, you'll probably end up saying something you don't have to and making your rate higher. Or getting yourself declined. We want to get you that policy as cheap as possible. Only tell us what we need to know and don't say anything else. Edit. For some reason I have people in the comments accusing me of enabling fraud now. Fraud sucks and is dumb. Don't lie with your answers. I will reiterate to be upfront and honest when answering the questions they ask you. Just don't go off on tangents and say unrelated shit. The fruits and veggies you buy at the grocery store. Wash them. There are people that don't wash fruit and vegetables from the store before eating them. Also, I highly recommend not putting something you intend to eat directly on the conveyor belt at the register. That thing is not necessarily sanitary. People put money and sneeze on it all the time. I work in a grocery store and never put food directly on the belt. Library worker here. The majority of donations we receive do not end up in circulation, on our shelves. No matter how much you demand we put them there once they're donated. The reason why this is because we only add items to the collection that we think will circulate, be checked out. Most libraries get funding based off of statistics. We don't want to waste shelf space on items that PR aren't checking out, as it won't improve our stats. So, unless the donated items are brand new, or by popular authors, we will not add them to the collection. We will also weed unpopular items from our collection with extreme prejudice for this reason. Much to our patrons' horror, these books usually end up being sold at book sales to help generate funding for other library programs. Knowing how to research the answer to a question is at least as or even more useful than knowing the answer to begin with. I made a living in IT for a decade with that mindset. I don't know any programming languages, but I know how to translate. It's worked so far. I'm a dentist. Here's the lowdown on toothpaste. As long as it has fluoride, they are all basically the same. When I was in dental school, the Colgate lady came by and said that everything that says Colgate Total on it is all exactly the same. The only difference is the packaging. So whether it says whitening, or gum protection, or whatever else, it is all exactly the same. The exception is sensitivity. Toothpaste typically does have an extra active ingredient, No3, which helps with sensitivity. Don't ever feel obligated to buy the expensive toothpaste because you think it will be better for your teeth. Just buy whatever you like best. As a beginner counselor, I worked with a lot of children and adolescents. Consistently, the discussion with my colleagues was how it was the parents who were the biggest problem and the kids were just adapting to a crazy environment. As an MSW student who worked with kids for 5 years, I tell everyone who wants to work with kids that they better be prepared to work with parents. Mostly, any behaviors or patterns that you instill as a professional are just going to be overridden the second they return home if the parents aren't also on board. In Microsoft Office, Word specifically, you can upload recorded interviews and it will transcribe it and ever have speaker 1 and speaker 2, 3 and 4. Basically, eliminating a huge annoying part of the job. Former industry. Commercial radio. It's never caller 5. It's the caller who sounds best on air. I won something on the radio once. The lady DJ called me back on a few minutes. She forgot to record the call. She told me to act excited. It was hilarious. She blamed it on being pregnant. Said she had lost her mind. If you order a pizza but like to choose your own toppings, it's often cheaper to choose an existing pizza like a meat supreme or something with loads of toppings. Then swap out all the toppings for ones you want, than to go for the create your own option in the menu. Note: this is much less awkward if you order online than on the phone. A lot of librarians will waive you fines if you have an excuse and you don't ask frequently. Even large fines. Also, librarians don't care about your fines and aren't judging you. Please come back. We personally have more finds than you. Librarians are always overdue with their books. A lot of successful artists at a certain level of success do nothing more than create a concept and employ several assistants, who are either current or graduating art students, who actually make the art itself. It's reproductions or both. Edit. I know this is old news in the art industry and academy, but outside of it I found it very hard to explain my job to people. I do believe that films also romanticize this field and warp what a lot of outsiders think it actually is. Firefighters are trained on several areas and can specialize deeper into certain disciplines. Most of the emergencies we get called to are situations we have never been trained on. But with 4 of us on a fire truck we can normally figure out a solution. In my county, a girl got stuck in a clothes washer. I wasn't on the call, but there's a video of it online. I remember doing car extrication in the academy, but not washer extrication. Teacher. The parents are more of a hassle than the students. I doubt that is a secret, but there it is. I know a few teachers and this seems to be a pretty common view. One said 30% of his job is teaching, 30% is unnecessary school admin, and 40% is dealing with parents who think their spoiled little shitty is a victim of some conspiracy. Edit. This was at a fancy private school. Weight loss industry. This might be obvious, but most of our business comes from return clients after they've gained their weight back, and then some. To be clear, the plan isn't rigged to make you gain it back, but the fact that it happens easily as a result of dieting keeps us in business. This is why weight loss is so hard. Go to change your lifestyle permanently, not just for a few months. Dress codes and other rules bouncers tell you at the door are usually made up on the fly. Worked in the nightclub industry for 3 years, and I can attest to this. We had a baseline dress code, but we would be lax with certain high paying cowco guests. Also, if you're gonna be a dick, you better be dressed to the T because otherwise security will refuse you entry and say it's because of an otherwise negligible dress code violation. And they won't care about how the guy right in front of you who just got in was doing it too. As a former TSA worker, airport security is a lot of theater. TSA is constantly failing plainclothes inspections. I worked with a guy who got fired because someone showed him an ID with a picture of Mickey Mouse on it and he let the person through because he wasn't paying attention. I too work in aviation. TSA is tested by something called red teams. They basically try to get things past security. Their success rate is in the 90% range. A huge portion of online reviews, ratings, social media presence, etc. that you see for any given company are fake, paid for, or done by multiple accounts controlled by us. This includes a company's Glassdoor page, fake reviews about how great it is to work there so that the million negative reviews don't crush their page. I'm not saying it's every company out there, but it's been a lot of the ones I've worked for. Source. I'm copywriter. What are ethics? I surely don't know anymore. Edit. RIP my inbox. The McDonald's ice cream machine isn't broken. The fuckers were just too lazy to clean it. Or more likely, none of the people working that day know how. It's a BTCH and takes like 4 hours. It shuts off and makes you clean it. So rest assured it's gonna be clean. Just not when you need it. Not really a secret, but some wholesale nurseries will sell plants for a fraction less than public nurseries and big box retailers. Like 1 gallon of a shrub will sell for $16 at Home Depot. But at a wholesale nursery that same plant will cost like $2.06. Edit. Some wholesale nurseries are open to the public. Construction boy here. If your windows or sliding doors are tough to open and close, 9 times out of 10, we put your own dish soap on tracks and the thing works perfectly. It take 5 minutes and we charge $150. Dish soap people. It's better than WD-40 sometimes. I work in logistics for a massive manufacturing company. Money's not fucking real. $1,000 for 8 light bulbs. Edit. I'm at the bottom of the totem pole here. I'm just a glorified mailman who talks to a lot of people who are much higher up than me. Not an industry I work in per se, but I used to be in a sales role. One of my customers was a milk bottling plant. I was somewhat surprised that they were putting the exact same milk in both organic and non-organic cartons. Turns out all of their milk is organic. But in order to not miss out on the sales of non-organic milk, they just bottle them differently and sell them at different prices. When it comes to retail, if you're night crew, day crew just dicks around all day and doesn't get anything done, leaving all of the work for you. If you're day crew, night crew just dicks around all night and doesn't get anything done, leaving all of the work for you. If you're day crew, night crew just dicks around all night and doesn't get anything done. I'm a fossil replicator, and apparently the industry secret is the fact that we exist. So many people are blown away to learn that most fossils they see in museums are replicas. Edit. Okay. I'm heading to bed, but I'll be back in the morning to continue answering questions since there are so many. This should be pretty obvious. But for big brand hotels, if you try to sneak above the hotel and call the corporate customer care line to demand compensation, complain, that customer care line will always call the hotel for the full story and not just blindly give compensation. The person on the other end of that toll-free number almost never works directly for the company you're calling. I used to work for a call center that handled calls for a big truck rental company. We handled all the reservations and customer service, and we didn't even work directly for the company. I know a lot of people get annoyed when a store employee pushes the credit card. But at the kids clothing store I worked at, if you didn't get at least X amount per day, they cut our hours. I wasn't pushing you a shitty credit card to be an asshole. I was scared to lose my hours. Edit. I'm trying to reply to everyone, but I didn't expect this to blow up. If you're in the same position or have been, I'm sorry you dealt with this too. It's honestly shitty, and our minimum wage job should not depend on peddling your wonky store credit card loyalty program. If there's a lot of IT problems and your IT people look like they're working their asses off, it's because they don't know what they are doing. If things are smooth and it looks like your IT people don't do shit, it's because they know exactly what they're doing. It also depends how many IT people there are compared to how many problems. An army of ants can still take down a beetle just by overwhelming force and luck. Or a single individual can be worked to the bone. Federal HR here. If you put the words from the vacancy announcement about what you need to qualify in your resume, you'll almost always be qualified. We search for those words instead of reading an entire resume. I wonder if companies with 100s of resumes would get better hires from taking 50 and reading them carefully rather than putting 500 through an automated process. The kind donations people give hoping they go directly to the clients in shelters actually end up at the Salvation Army or Goodwill to be resold, even though we're instructed to tell them that won't be the case, and this is done before the clients are even given the chance to decide if they want some of the donated stuff. Nobody uses bots to inflate metrics more than the most major players in the entertainment industry. All the numbers are fake, including sales. This makes so much sense. Immediately my mind went to Selena Gomez. Like, no hate, but she's not exactly a powerhouse singer, so why does she have these amazing numbers? Also, as a 24-year-old woman, I'm right in her age demographic from her Disney days. Yet I don't know anybody who listens to her music. Bots make total sense. California. Cannabis concentrates. Don't trust that the test results are accurate at all. We were demanded by the business owner to use some dirty methods to cheat on potency testing and pesticide testing. Turns out, those tests can be pretty easy to trick if you know what you're doing. This is ultimately what led to me leaving the industry. Eventually, all of our chemists stopped smoking concentrates altogether for these reasons. Edit. Added state. Banks don't have millions of dollars in cash in them. Their insurances rates would be way too expensive. They keep enough on hand to do weekly traffic plus some extra. Yeah, there's a reason you need to call them ahead 24 hours notice if you intend to withdraw more than 5 to 7,000 in cash. Whenever you tell someone to check in the back of a grocery store, they go back there and stand for a few moments and come back out. 99% of the time if it's not on the shelf we are out, but we know you won't believe us, so we go look for it so you feel a bit better even though we already knew there was none back there. Any individual part of flying an airplane isn't difficult. It's 100 small things piling up makes things difficult. As opposed to, say, playing the trumpet. Hitting that high note repeatedly is difficult and physically demanding. Landing is easy once you've practiced it a bit. But when it gets difficult you just nope out of there and land somewhere else. No one really knows 100% of what they're doing. This should be the last thing they teach you before you leave high school, college. Sometimes people won't have the answer. Even at the biggest companies. They'll look to you. And you'll need to solve it. And it probably won't be right the first time. But they'll be happy you did it so they can build upon the foundation you started. Every client thinks architects are unnecessary and they can draw the plans themselves, but they are just too busy. Used to screen resumes for small companies. Job requirements are more of a wish list situation. Never let some unchecked boxes deter you from applying. You have no idea what the applicant pool is like. The biggest boon, especially at small companies, is someone who legitimately cares. Literally got a job last week that I was unqualified for. I said, fuck it. I'm running out of places to apply. Let's give it a shot. Couple days later they replied. Set up an interview. And I somehow have a job tomorrow morning during a pandemic. Just go for it. Can't hurt you.